Welcome into a Wednesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show presented by Go Chevrolet, here as we are every single day. Go Chevrolet, located in Laplace, Louisiana. Remember, you can stop and check them out if you're on I-10. Heading to South Louisiana, you're heading from South Louisiana, stop in Laplace and check out Go Chevrolet. And remember, they just announced their brand new used car lot over here in Baton Rouge. The Go Automotive, Go Automotive Sales.com. Yeah. GoChevrolet.com. GEAUX Chevrolet.com. Florida Boulevard. Used cars, and of course out in Laplace, brand new cars, used car selections. Go Chevrolet every single day here on the Jordy Culotta Show.
You think you could have been a used car salesman?
Younger.
Younger?
Just figure it out. You know what I mean? Just figure it out. I don't know how long I would have lasted. But sales is sales, bro.
See, that's what I'm saying. I know it's not the, there's people paint a picture for that type of person.
Absolutely.
And I think that brings some legitimacy to the organization.
You can do that. If you can do that young, you can probably sell anything.
Anything.
Absolutely. I tell you that about radio. You can sell air. You can sell anything.
So catch a popsicle to a woman in white gloves.
LSU needs to be sold a new public relations strategy.
Woof.
I mean, what? Who? What the hell is going on? Another day, another story for LSU, another investigation coming down from the federal government on Louisiana State University. The associate AD is suing the school after the Les Miles investigation. Ed Ogeron is writing statements contradicting what he said in the public just a couple of days ago. Just every single day it's something new over at LSU. But the baseball team won last night.
The Bullies.
They're back in the win column. We'll talk to Wilson Alexander of The Advocate, who was with us last week. He was fantastic. We'll have him back on today, giving us some information and the latest on LSU before they take off for a 3-game set versus Kentucky. That'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. First pitch 5:30 on Friday afternoon. We'll ask Wilson where they go with Jaden Hill now on the shelf for a year, dealing with a Tommy John surgery after tearing his UCL last game out versus Vanderbilt. We'll also talk to Jacques Doucet. Jacques is doing great work over on YouTube as well for WAFB as he's sitting down and conducting a couple of interviews. His last one with Dale Brown has a little bit of the Jordy Culotta Show flavor in it. We'll talk to Jacques about what he learned in talking to the former LSU head basketball coach Dale Brown. As Jacques will stop by at 7:30. We'll also ask him his thoughts on what's happening at LSU, some of the storylines in spring football, LSU baseball, LSU basketball. Where do they go from here as far as the turnover and roster turnover? We'll get a lot of stuff covered with Jacques coming up at 7:30. Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois is going to stop by at 8:30 this morning. So if you've got food questions, jump inside of the bunker. We're over on YouTube just like we are every single day. Jump in over there, get your questions in, and we will get the chef asked and answered coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show. And Ross Dellenger, speaking of, from Sports Illustrated, covered the LSU football program during a lot of the time as what is being discussed publicly. So we'll get his thoughts there. He's also got some new write-ups up at SI.com talking about this upcoming college football season. We'll ask him some of the things there, but more focused on LSU and what's happening around the athletic program and the football facility as far as the mainstream news goes. And then WCW, it's Women Crush Wednesday here on the Jordy Culotta Show, which means we will talk to Abby Alonso from the Gridiron Show as she'll stop by and highlight a female in sports coming up before we get out of here at 9 a.m. this morning. So a lot to get to over the next 2 hours. Remember, if you do have a question for Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois, jump inside of the bunker and we will get them asked and answered coming up at 8:30 this morning. Light crew this morning, just me and Lizzie inside of the UDL, and we'll be here throughout the next 2 hours. No guests scheduled to come in-house, so everybody we talk to will be on our Metropolitan Health Group phone lines. Jacques, Wilson, and the chef, and Ross Dellenger. Abby will be inside of the UDL coming up. Will be about 8:45, but outside of that, we'll be talking to a lot of people on our Metropolitan Health phone line. And as every day, our coffee, even though Lloyd and I are not drinking coffee, did not make any this morning, is brought to you by Majestic Coffee as things light up here in the UDL.
Shed a little light on this situation.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Shed a little light on what's happening at LSU. What do you make of the stories, the continuous stories that come out? Here's the latest from the U.S. Department of Education. As they announced on Tuesday, they are launching a second investigation into LSU's reported mishandling of sexual misconduct cases. The federal agency's Office for Civil Rights notified LSU of the Title IX compliance investigation in a letter dated March 31st, which was obtained by USA Today. There has been extensive media coverage of the university's potential mishandling of complaints of sexual assault, including allegations that university officials ignored sexual assault allegations made against former athletes. The department will be analyzing LSU's handling of student complaints of sexual assault and harassment from 2018 through 2019 of the academic school year up to present date. This is the second investigation from the federal agency since February, which is when the Department of Education notified the university they would be conducting a far-reaching probe of LSU's compliance with federal campus safety laws. At the time, a spokesperson told LSU that it received complaints alleging a pattern of conduct that resulted in a serious violation of the Clery Act. However, this new case was opened in light of recent reports describing students' allegations that the university mishandled their complaints of sexual assault and harassment. Also, as you know, on Tuesday, Sharon Lewis, LSU's current Associate Athletic Director of Football Recruiting and Alumni Relations, filed a $50 million lawsuit, Title IX lawsuit, against the school, according to state and federal lawsuits filed this week. That was first reported by USA Today. Also on Tuesday, Ed Orgeron wrote a statement to the Senate committee hearing that is taking place on Thursday, in which they have requested the presence of Orgeron and his testimony about the Darius Geis situation in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome back in 2017, where he harassed a grandmother, Gloria Scott, who was she was running the elevator system in the Superdome. Geis stepped on the elevator and just was disrespectful at the very least, sexual assault at the very most, with sexual harassment at the very most, with what he was telling and saying to the grandmother. Since then, there have been reports and stories coming out that Gloria Scott reached out to Ed Orgeron and wanted to have Geis suspended for the Citrus Bowl that season. Since then, since those reports, an AAU coach named Cleve Williams out of New Orleans has been recorded while talking to Verge Alsbury and Miriam Seeger, demanding $100,000 in cash for Geis to be punished for his actions here. So this situation is just it's almost like a storyline out of a movie when you read this thing. So Orgeron he writes a statement on Tuesday saying that he is not going to be present on Thursday for the Senate committee hearings. From a public relations standpoint, I think this is the first one that Ed Orgeron's camp has gotten right. Really and truly. Whoever is heading up Ed Orgeron's PR, whether it's Derek Panamsky or the Sports Information Office, I mean, what's up? What's going on? I mean, he says something on Tuesday, then has to come back and in a written report contradict what he said in the public. I mean, that on Tuesday is very easy to step around, to work around, to not put that stuff out into the public where you've got to go back and clean that stuff up. I think that's kind of public relations 101, really, when you're talking about some of the missteps that has been navigated by Orgeron LSU football throughout the last couple of months, and just speaking publicly about this stuff, where you've got to come back and now write in a written statement that you do remember talking on the phone to representatives or during that time to Cleve Williams and some of the conversations that had. He also said that he may have remembered talking on the phone to Gloria Scott at the time. Orgeron's statement, as he wrote on Tuesday, contradicts some of what Scott told the committee on March 26 when she recalled she was working as a security worker at the Superdome in New Orleans when Geis, then at LSU, stepped on and made those comments, stepped onto the elevator and made those comments. In a statement, Orgeron said that he tried to call Scott to have Geis apologize, but that a man answered the phone. Orgeron said that the man would not put Scott on the phone unless the coach would commit to suspending Geis, which he said he could not do until he had spoken to university officials and obtained more information. Orgeron wrote on how he roughly remembers hearing that the same man who claimed to be representing Scott had demanded monetary compensation from LSU and that those allegations were validated with multiple audio recordings and electronic correspondence. ESPN and other media outlets were able to get copies of that correspondence, and if you have not, you can hear that. I was able to hear the audio at WAFB.com between Cleve Williams and LSU administrators Miriam Seeger and Verge Osbury. In the recordings, Williams says that Scott wants Geis to be suspended for the school to pay to keep the story quiet if they don't suspend him. Williams asked LSU administrators and Verge Osbury, what's the value of Darius Geis playing in the Citrus Bowl? So, I mean, all this is happening right now at LSU. I mean, it is. It seems like every single day that you open up the paper, you open up your smart tablet on reading today's news. LSU is headline. I'm at SI.com right now. I'm over at SI.com. If you just go to the front page of SportsIllustrated.com, there are two storylines or two headlines that are centered around LSU. Both of them, LSU facing second investigation for mishandling cases, and then Associate AD suing LSU after Miles' investigation. And if you scroll just a little down, there's a third one. Orgeron issues statement about Geis won't testify. I mean, that's where LSU is in the news cycle right now. And we could make jokes and we could make light and we can laugh, but this stuff isn't funny to a lot of people on both sides of the aisle. The accusers and I'd imagine some administrators at LSU have to be embarrassed. I mean, at the very least, because from outside looking in, and look, I know a lot of people up there, and some of those people are my friends. What the hell is going on? I mean, that is the overwhelming feeling in the public. You know, I mean, I'm not giving you necessarily what I believe about it, my firsthand opinion. I'm just getting some feedback from around the fan base, whether it be emails that we get from listeners on this show that are spread from, you know, all throughout Texas or North Louisiana or certain parts outside of South Louisiana, just asking, what is going on at LSU? Seriously, like, what are they doing? When you just look at the simple missteps and avoidable steps that they have not taken, is at the very, it's very head scratching. You know, I mean, it would sound very bitter for me, and I understand that. And it would sound almost a little immature and I don't know, petty, if I was to say something about Orgeron's weekly radio appearance. I mean, I get that. That's incredible programming. It makes a lot of sense. I was a part of creating that programming consistently in how it sits now on every Tuesday, him making a radio appearance. And that is great for that platform and for those hosts. But on the other side, what's the value? What's the value of that? I mean, over the last 3 weeks, he's claimed that his defensive coordinator was the fifth choice that he did not interview that he didn't interview numerous assistant coaches last year when he was making coaching changes, and then he came out and said that he didn't remember talking to Gloria Scott, and 4 days later had to write in a statement that he did remember speaking to her. I mean, what's the public relations of that? What's the coaching on that? Where is the value for the brand of LSU football, Ed Ogeron, and the university of continuously having to go back and clean up stories from public appearances of the football coach? I mean, isn't this PR 101? That you continually clean up your mess when you're in the middle of a shitstorm? And you've got your most recognizable figure weekly making statements that contradicts or just puts you in a situation where you look unprepared.
And that's really what it is. It's the sloppiness of it all. It's. I understand the free forum and everything like that, but when there's some serious allegations out there, it seems like you'd be a little bit more prepared.
Yes. I mean, it just, Charles Bowden said Jordy Ogeron never said that he talked to Gloria Scott. Yeah, but in his statement yesterday, he was very adamant about saying, a week ago that he did not speak to her. And then yesterday in his statement, he said he may have remembered speaking to them, where it's just avoidable. I mean, all this stuff is avoidable. And in the state of where LSU is right now, I think the best course of action is let's just shut up. Let's quit bringing attention to the program, the university, the case, the situation, all of that stuff, and just focus on football from their point of view. I mean, you're kicking your name and you're putting your name into public stories where, look, man, if I am advising Ed Ogeron, I'm telling him, write that letter to the Senate committee and let them know you're not going. And if they want to criticize you and they want to talk about you publicly, you can take at the max 1 week of people discussing whether or not you showed up to the Senate committee hearing, rather than going and putting anything on the record and giving them the opportunity to run camera and see your image up on that Senate committee hearing getting grilled by certain portions of that committee. Because, like it or not, Ogeron has a political tie behind him. There's a political feel to the LSU football coach when you go up to the state capitol. There's a certain demographic of politicians, it doesn't matter what he accomplishes on the football field, are going to disagree with him making the amount of money he makes as a state official, just because they're politicians. And they are foaming at the mouth for an opportunity to sit him down on the record and question him. And from LSU football standpoint, it makes 0 sense to put him into that arena, in my opinion. So I agree with writing the statement. But outside of that, that's it. I mean, that's the first PR win that LSU has experienced. And I'm not trying to make this thing a public relations issue, because it's not. There's allegations of harassment and assault and mishandling of cases and cover-up, and the things that Sharon Lewis are claiming are very serious matters. And it looks like the federal government is diving back into that. But from a PR standpoint, this is another bungle by LSU. I mean, I really thought that they got rid of the PR nightmares with Joe Oliva and F. King Alexander. I mean, I thought that was the weakest part of bad leadership. I mean, those guys were horrible leaders, and maybe their worst quality was the public relations. And I thought that LSU would have upgraded that in the transition to Ed Orgeron. I mean, I thought that was Derek Panamsky's job. Really. I mean, if Orgeron keeps making these PR blunders, what's Panamsky do? I mean, isn't that his gig to tell him, hey, man, let's not say that in the public, or let's sit this week out with all the smoke around the program right now? And I've been a part of those interviews. I mean, a lot of times those questions are done pre-interview. I mean, there's an idea of what's going to be asked. Now, sometimes it could go a little, but not too far off script. And for weeks in a row, for that stuff to happen, it's just, why? I mean, are we, if you're on that team, you've got to be saying, are we really dealing with this stuff? I mean, we're setting up traps that we're walking into ourselves. It's so confusing to watch. It's just, I don't understand what the strategy is.
Well, and to your point, some of it stems from the old guard. Like a lot of this is from when Joe Oliva and F. King were here, but I'm sure Scott didn't know what he was actually getting himself into. You know, I don't know if this kind of stuff is disclosed when you take an NAD job, but he's doing his best he's playing catch up almost. It's like, you know, he's kind of driving the car without he doesn't know where he's going.
Yeah. Shane Smith, public relations. Does LSU have that department? LSU sports for the last 15 plus years has been terrible at PR. Charles Bowden said he spoke to the representative. Daniel Glenn, was not trained to be the face of a program. Certainly his media instincts at the podium, especially when under a microscope, are a detriment to himself and to LSU. He was a rah-rah defensive line guy. Michael Kleber, that's why Alabama is who they are. Saban would be in his office untouchable until every word was chosen with great thought and legal preparation. One Team, One Podcast writes in about some of the blunders behind the public relations right now. It's just
messy.
It is very messy. It's very sloppy. It seems very avoidable. It seems like from a public standpoint, you could even go to a college professor on campus and say, help us manage this, if you're that unorganized at this. I mean, some of the things that LSU is walking into is PR 101, where you just stay silent. You just don't say a word. Even going back to a year ago when Verge Alsbury sat down and gave an interview to The Advocate about this situation. I mean, Verge is a friend. And even at the time, it was like, what's the strategy behind that? Why? What is the advantage that's going to come out of that? And that's what I would ask LSU football. What's the advantage of continually putting out information that it's not necessarily relevant? I mean, publicly admitting that you didn't interview coaches that you hire at this level a year after those guys have been removed and you've moved on. For what? For what? What? All you're going to have to do is answer questions on that. All you're going to do is give writers, talking heads, people that cover the program more data to question what's going on. And it also sets up, if anything this upcoming year or into the future resembles 2020, you now have information on the record of where, well, I mean, In 2020, they say they didn't interview the defensive coordinator and the passing game coordinator. What did they do in 2021? And now you're asking and you're being asked questions about the organization. Well, you said back in 2020 that you didn't interview defensive coordinators, or you said back in 2020 that Durante Jones was your fifth choice. What's now? You know, I mean, you know, what that gives us, the media, or people that have access to asking questions about the program, it gives them artillery. It gives you, you're giving information to the other team. I mean, if we're thinking about it from a football standpoint, you're giving them your playbook.
Leaving a lot of film out there.
I mean, LSU seems like right now, again, I mean, with the announcement of a second investigation of mishandling cases, I understand that there seems to be a problem with that on campus, but I think this is the public relations that's getting them into this second investigation. Because after the first investigation, it doesn't seem like anybody's learned anything from the university standpoint. I don't know where the fallout comes from here, but it seems like it's imminent at this point. And I'm for nobody losing their jobs. I understand the wake that creates in somebody's life, especially when there are kids and lives at stake. So nobody wants that. But something has to be shaken up at LSU. The turnover from Oliva to Woodward was expected to have some type of personnel or some type of direction change within the department. It feels like 2013 around here. It feels like 2015. It feels like 2017. These years that we are talking about when things seem so screwed up under Oliva and F. King's watch and Les Miles. It doesn't feel any different. I mean, in fact, you could almost argue it's worse because you're coming from those days and you didn't learn anything.
Not only that, it's just the way it's playing out so publicly.
It's confusing.
If this was another program, what would your thoughts be? Like if you weren't obviously connected to LSU and within LSU, if you just saw this on ESPN
I'd be laughing my ass off at the university, not the stories.
Right.
I don't want to, because I don't want to come across.
This is serious. It's serious.
It's very serious. It's very serious. And the people that are affected and at the center of this, I'd imagine that this is just reopening those wounds, in going through these blunt. But if this is another school, I mean, think about this. Forget another university around the country. Think if this was another SEC Western Division school, what you would be doing, or what you would be reacting and saying. What is going on here? I mean, can you imagine what a program like Auburn? Let's bring up Auburn, who seems to always have some smoke around their program, right? I mean, they're kind of always at the center of something.
They're always towing the line somewhere.
Always kind of pushing the envelope a little bit. I mean, they've even got to be looking in Baton Rouge. I mean, I've spoke to people who are Auburn alums and faithful and say, "Oh, how bad is it at LSU? Just what is going on?" I mean, these stories are just, you got inner employees suing the university. $50 million Sharon Lewis is looking for. Now, I mean,
ask for the world.
I mean, that's whatever her strategy is at this point. If you're LSU, here's $750,000. Go away.
I'm saying, yeah.
Go away. You know what I mean? Just shh. Leave us alone. We don't want to fight this. We got so much crap on our plate right now. Jacques had a great conversation with Scott Woodward that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and Jacques asked, he asked a lot of the tough questions, and from that, Jacques has now created a YouTube show where he does long form interviews. His latest one is with Dale Brown, but I want to get his thoughts on this. Let's get in touch with Jacques here as we will link up with him. Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by Nevadis. You see the hat, Nevadis. Welcome aboard here to my friend Randall Nachman and his crew over at Nevadis, where they are designing and developing custom web and mobile applications that help businesses solve some of the most challenging pain points related to their staff, customers, and processes. Over at Nevadis, their goal is to make businesses more efficient, save time, and provide a beautiful experience for their customers. Some of their skills include order management, quotes and invoices, payment processing, inventory management, asset tracking, time management, task management, and much more. Communications, audio, video, chat, etc. Get in touch with Nevadis, a brand new sponsor here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Digitalizing paperwork, any of the things that you need done around the office, let Nevadis take care of it today. You see the hat that I'm wearing every single day. Shout out to Randall Nachman and the crew. Are we hooked up? Yes, we are. Let's get in touch with Jacques over at WAFB, as Jacques is a longtime sports reporter, sports anchor for WAFB Sports, as he is now on YouTube. Good morning, buddy. How are you? We're live. Hello.
Fresh out of bed, Jordy.
Yes.
See you, show.
Thank you,
there
buddy.
you go.
Thank you, buddy.
Did I wake up to another nuclear LSU story? Does anything else come out?
Nothing to report yet, but as I was saying, SI.com. We're going to talk to Ross Dellenger at the end of the show today. This is at SportsIllustrated.com right now, Jacques, at SI.com. The top 3 headlines under the college football section are all around LSU and nothing about the football program. The first headline, LSU facing second investigation of mishandling cases. Second headline is Associate AD suing LSU after Miles' investigation. Third headline is Ogeron issues statement about Geis, will not testify. You spoke to Scott Woodward a couple of weeks ago. You asked the questions. Where is LSU athletics at right now, presently, as you and I speak from your scope?
Well, Jordy, I did the news last night, sportscast, and I almost felt like stupid going through the Ed Ogeron press conference last night and editing a soundbite about quarterback battle. You know, it was like all this other stuff's going on, and LSU's trying their best to have a productive spring football session and move forward. But I enjoy covering LSU. It always kind of makes you feel good to go to a game where they win and everyone, goes home happy and gets a good feeling. But lately, I mean, I'm trying. You try to find something to pivot to, and everything is just. I mean, I said yesterday, I felt like it's like just a big river of sewage every day is something. I feel bad for the people who are there and have never done anything wrong, who are kind of getting pulled in with this. And my question is, when do we kind of wipe it clean, and when's the starting over point? When do we start at a new a fresh starting line and move forward? But I saw Sharon Lewis last week. She was at the LSU Pro Day. She was there watching, the guys doing their 40-yard dashes and bench presses and trying to impress the scouts. And then yesterday, an email comes across saying that she's suing the school for $50 million. It's just, I'm sad because 2019 brought everybody so much joy, and whites and blacks and people of all different backgrounds, and working together to win that national championship. And, a Disney movie, as I've kind of referred to it many times. And, I knew that 2020 was probably not going to be that. I was thinking, 9-3 and some quarterback issues, but the pandemic, the racial strife, the John Paul Funes, Bedell Alexander's father thing with Our Lady of the Lake, the Hush Blackwell report leading the way. There's so much. I just feel like we're kind of drowning. We can't even keep up with everything that's going on.
I know the story is not public relations, and there's much more serious allegations and much more serious threats that are involved in this case that deserve attention, and hopefully with this second federal investigation something comes from it. But being in the media business like you are and have so much experience in it with your career, what do you make of the public relations of LSU? I mean, just the way that they handle the news that comes in and goes out of the athletic program in the university.
I think it's a tough job. I think that it's a lot different than when you and I were growing up in the late '80s, early '90s. I think to an extent, LSU sometimes doesn't need us, the local media, because they've created their own thing. LSUsports.net and all their different platforms on Facebook and whatnot to put things out and release things. I mean, if the story's big, they would rather break it than you or me, right? And so, but I don't know. I mean, I like Verge Ellsbury a lot. I've got along with him great over the years. I don't really know Miriam Seeger. I like Sharon Lewis. I got along with her great over the years. I mean, I've heard a lot of people say what's happening right now is because they didn't do the right thing when the Hush Blackwell report came out.
Yeah. And
Sharon Lewis, I guess, saw that. She stewed on it for a bit and said, "Okay, well, if you guys aren't going to do anything, do what I think you should do, or whatever. I'm gonna have this press conference at 11 a.m. and make a big announcement." So, people have Herb Vincent has been a guy that's been referenced for years. They need a Herb Vincent. They need to get Herb Vincent back. They need to get somebody like him to handle some of these things. And so, I don't know, man. It's I don't want to criticize them and get the nasty phone call or whatever. But I know what you're kind of getting at. It's especially today, whenever with the Twitter and Facebook and everything is immediate. And it just this thing just I'm waiting for the legs to be cut off, but it just keeps running.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, and I want the record to show that I'm not trying to go at a specific department or even an individual, because I understand that this thing is a massive monster in trying to control, and being the director of public relations or being a part of that group is like you said. I mean, it's an animal that you have to wrestle every single day. But I think that, just some of the missteps that have been taken are very, very easy to avoid, and be out in front. I mean, just the public whacking that the LSU brand has taken, and rightfully so, over the stories. There has to be some type of PR strategy from inside that has to, work towards protecting and cleaning up the brand. And it's just every single day, it's another story, it's another allegation, it's another issue, it's another statement in the public that has to be cleaned up in a written statement. It's PR blunder after PR blunder. Jacques, you are in the YouTube space now with WAFB, and you are sitting down and doing what I believe you do best is the long form interview, and just allowing people to relax, open up, tell stories. And your latest subject is Dale Brown, who spent so much time at LSU with the basketball program, and still is very much a part of some of the discussions of what happens into the future. Tell us about your latest conversation and what you have going on over on YouTube, and how our listeners can subscribe and check it out.
Yeah, Tony, appreciate it. I try to do a conversation each week with somebody, and just let them tell stories. I try to kind of research the person as much as I can and get the topics that are interesting stories. And with Dale Brown, you just got to kind of throw a softball across the plate, and he may give you 10 or 15 sound bites and great sound bites in one question. So he and I spoke for an hour and 20 minutes yesterday on everything from Chris Jackson, Mahmoud Abdul-Aruf, you and I, one of our favorite subjects, to Shaquille O'Neal, to beating Georgetown, the Superdome, in front of 66,000 people, and just all these different stories. But I did start off with some current events. I did ask him to talk about Dale Brown's court. I did ask him, as I joked with you yesterday, I said, hey, look, I'm Switzerland. I love Tim Brando. I love Jordy Culotta. I grew up on Dick Vitale, you know. Look at Shaquille O'Neal, baby.
Yes,
He's the best in America.
Are you kidding me?
The death zone, baby.
What did he say about that? Where is he on that? Without giving your interview away, because when will it publish?
Well, good thing you got me up and out of bed. I need to edit this thing and get it done by about 11 or noon, but it'll be posted, I think, by 1 or 2 this afternoon.
Okay, good deal.
I'll tweet it out and everything. But so he said that anybody who thinks that he and Dick Vitale are like texting or calling, and he's giving him information to go on a broadcast, or whatever, he said that's preposterous. He would not campaign for himself to get Dale Brown for it, and he said that certainly he would never do anything to hurt LSU in terms of passing along dirt or trying to dig up something on Will Wade or any of that stuff. He did get a bit worked up about that. Well, let's not crash the interview before we talk about the Final Four teams and stuff like that. But it's crazy. He's going to be 86 years old.
Wow.
This Halloween. He and Nick Saban had the same birthday. I think we all wish that Nick Saban would have retired in his early 60s, but like Coach Brown did. But he you may ask him about Dale Brown's court, and then by the time he's answering your question, he's hit it on Muhammad Ali, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, and whatever. So you always walk away a little enlightened. But yeah, I've enjoyed doing it. We've done one with John Brady. That was a ton of fun. Skip Berkman, Marcus Thornton, Blake Dean, Lindsey Scott, who's having a great career and a great story down at Nichols. So those are some of the ones we've done so far.
What do you make of this LSU baseball team right now in the start? They get a win last night, 1-8 in conference play, and they lose their ace over the weekend to a Tommy John surgery and UCL tear. What is the state of Maneri's program going into another SEC weekend from your point of view?
Well, it's something we've never seen before. We've never seen an LSU team start 1-8 in the SEC, and I like Coach Maneri a lot. He's always been great to me and others in the media. I think he's a good man and a great coach, obviously. I mean, just everything is kind of wearing on his face right now. In the dugout, on the coach's show, he just looks shell-shocked. No one really looks like they're having a good time. Last night was a brief breath of fresh air, and they had fun. They scored 14 runs, but they need to start winning some SEC games and trying to find a way to get into the tournament and try to play some good baseball towards the end. But it's I mean, the worst teams we've ever seen were Smoke Lavelle in 06. I think they won 35 games, missed the tournament. Maneri's team in 07, which Big Blair Barbier told them. Throughout all the national championships and this and that, the biggest miracle ever was the 2017 winning 29 games. We didn't have a single hitter, and we had one pitcher on that team. But yeah, this is it's rough. It really is. And Coach Maneri always talks about the chicken and the egg. You can't have confidence unless you have success, and how do you have success if you don't have any confidence? And so until they start scoring some runs and some Friday games, Saturday games, and winter, I just don't know when they're gonna turn the corner. And look, last year I heard Ronnie Rance talking about it. Last year was not heading in a great direction.
Yeah.
I remember going to Houston last year and seeing them get no hit by Oklahoma. I've never seen a no hitter in person. I think Jared Poche threw one. I think one time in 7 innings, but a 9-inning no hitter by the Oklahoma guys. So things were not going in a great direction, and COVID kind of saved them to an extent. So I hope they get turned around. Jordy, you could go on and say and put any kind of tweet or comment or quote from Coach Maneri these days, and everyone, he could say the sky is blue, it's a beautiful day, and some people on Twitter are just gonna get angry. They're very upset with the coach and where the program is.
Yeah, Jacques Doucet joining us here, WAFB. Make sure you subscribe to the WAFB YouTube channel, as the latest from Jacques Talks will be up with Coach Dale Brown today, being the latest interview in a long list or a growing list of very good subjects and very good interviews that you can find over there at WAFB's YouTube site. I know that LSU football is in spring practice. They'll have the spring game next Saturday inside Tiger Stadium. We have not had the access that we've had in springs past, but what are some of the stories that you're watching or that you're paying attention to as they are right here on the backside of spring practice over at LSU?
Well, I would think from a television perspective and video, we'd like to get, we're trying to shoot as much video of these new coaches as we can, from Jake Peets to DJ Mangus to Durante Jones and Andre Carter, all these new coaches. I think certainly the quarterback competition is fascinating to watch. I mean, is one of these guys after spring football going to see the writing on the wall and transfer or leave or whatever? That's going to be interesting to watch, and certainly I just hope that by the time we get to that first game that LSU's playing on a beautiful night at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California, and we're starting to enjoy sports again. The reason why we get into sports is to enjoy games and to see guys score touchdowns and win games and all this other stuff, and it's been rough, man, because as you and I know, that what they always say, right? Everything revolves around recruiting, right? Why do they play that loud music or that rap music or whatever? Because it's for recruiting. Why do they, show highlights of Tyrann Mathieu? Well, they do it because Tyrann Mathieu's great, but they also do it because they want some kid to say, hey, if I can go to LSU, I'm going to be like Tyrann Mathieu and be in the NFL. And I think that's the thing that you're fearful about, Jordy. Like even if Beth Torina's recruiting a softball girl, and her parents say, "Well, what's going on at LSU? What's that all about?"
Sure.
I think those are the fires that they're trying to put out right now. And everyone was thrilled when Scott Woodward got the job. And I think he's still, I think he do a great job, and I think he's the perfect guy for the job. But there's some people that will. Why is Nikki Fargas just the women? Why is she still the women's coach? Why is this going on? So he's inherited a lot of bad stuff to start, great stuff to start with the football team, and now he's true leaders when they're put in these bad situations. We love to see him come through. So I just hope I don't know how this all gets tied up, but I hope it happens soon.
WAFB YouTube station is where you can check out the latest in Jacques Talks. As Jacques said, he'll jump on and start editing his last piece and have it up at some point today, probably midday over there at the WAFP YouTube site. But make sure you are subscribed. Follow him on Twitter to keep up with the latest, as he is over at WAFB and a great friend of our show, as you can check him out here from time to time. Thank you as always, man. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, man, you keep up the great work and the great guests out besides me. Certainly I'm not one of your better guests, but keep up the great work with all the people that you've been booking and everything. It's the people that you're landing and getting and the content you're putting out for not having a monster behind you to get all that stuff out there is outstanding. So keep it going.
Appreciate it, my friend. We'll talk again soon. There he is, JD, checking in from WAFB this morning, as he is over on YouTube, and he is fantastic. I mean, you know Jacques. He's been around the market for so long, and now with his new form of interviews going on WFB, that to me is what he does best. If you saw the John Brady interview, if you've seen some of the Lindsey Scott interview, the Marcus Thornton interview, that is Jacques to me at his peak. Just being able to sit down and allow people to open up and get stories, and the next thing you know, both of them are laughing, and it's cool stuff, and he's great as the sports anchor, but really in his niche, I think right now with the WAFB long form interviews, or with Jacques talking. Looking forward to the Dale Brown conversation, as there's a little bit about Dale Brown Court and some of the Dickie V fireworks that have been surrounding the LSU basketball program over the last couple of seasons will be addressed as well. So there was Jacques from his firsthand accounts of where LSU is right now, and you can hear it, man. You can hear it in Jacques' voice in just covering LSU athletics right now. It takes a lot to get to the sports conversation. It takes a while to start talking about what's really happening with the athletic programs.
Which is tough to do when you're 2 years removed from a national championship. Like, that should still be something that you can bring up and people want to talk about, but everything else has just muddled it so badly that it's not at the forefront of any conversation.
Yeah, it's just it's something that LSU right now is going to have to address head on and going to have to work themselves out of, because it seems like every single day it's something different with a waterfall of a story falling on LSU's head, where they're either unprepared or it was something in their past or their recent past that is costing them today's news. I agree with Jacques. I think that Sharon Lewis sat back and saw the fallout from the Hush Blackwell report and saw that there were two people that lost their job from it, and both of them were on university campuses outside of Baton Rouge. F. King Alexander in Corvallis and Les Miles in Lawrence, Kansas. Both lose their jobs over something that was happening at LSU in the past, where the nucleus and bulk of the personnel that is being investigated is still employed. And Sharon Lewis is saying, well, hell, I did everything right from what you guys were telling me to do. At least that's what it seems like from her account. I haven't seen anything from LSU's standpoint to answer or try and come back to what Sharon Lewis is alleging. So we're just reading one side of the story, but one side of the story, she's claiming, I did everything I was supposed to do. I got promoted in title, but didn't receive a pay raise like some others did when they got promoted and were endorsed by the athletics director. I just think that it's just a disaster right now. I mean, it seems like there's nothing good that you can find around the athletic program.
And there's no end in sight. I mean, this little method of like the drip drop of leaking the stories has got to be on just kind of terrifying from a public relations standpoint for LSU. It's like, what else do they have? What else is going to come out? And now you have people inside your own building that want to turncoat.
Yeah. Ross Dellenger is going to be here in an hour. Really looking forward to talking to Delly from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Delly's got good perspective on it because he was the lead reporter around LSU football during the time in which is being investigated right now. I mean, it could be argued that Ross Dellenger sitting in Washington, D.C. today has better relationships than the majority of the media covering LSU in Baton Rouge. I mean, he may still have the best relationships around LSU football, and he doesn't even cover it day to day. But while he was here covering it every single day, I mean, just recall your newswire, your news feed. Anything that broke around LSU's football program always came from Dellenger. I mean, some of it still does. So he's got great perspective about what the hell was going on then and what the hell's going on now. So we'll talk to him at 8:45 this morning. We're brought to you by Relief Health. Remember, Relief is the best and only way to get your health care. In 2021, they do have the vaccine, the Moderna vaccine. Relief will come on site for any employer and administrator and administer to their employees. I mean, think about that. If you're running your business today and some of your main concerns are getting your workforce in and making sure that you are compliant with what's going on with the health situation and with COVID, Relief Health will come on site anywhere for any employer and administer tests to their employees. All you need to do is get in touch with Relief Health. It's very easy. Download the app, Relief Health, from Apple or Google app stores. Get connected to a local doctor in your community or just order a test directly without talking to a doctor. Nurses come to you for any testing or evaluation. As I said, they've got the vaccine right now, and they are administering it with Moderna. But the process is very easy. Download the application Relief Health from Apple or Google app stores and get in touch with our friend Vishal Vasanji and Relief Health this morning by downloading the app at your Google and Apple stores. Coming up in hour two, we'll focus a little bit more directly on LSU baseball as Wilson Alexander will be here from The Advocate as we get Wilson's thoughts on where LSU goes from here. Pelicans back in action last night versus the Atlanta Hawks. Two of the young superstars in the NBA on display as Zion was back in action after missing the last 3 games with a thumb injury, and he had 34 leading the Pels last night, though they fell on Tuesday to Atlanta, 123-107. Trae Young had 30 for the Hawks last night. Brandon Ingram missed his third consecutive game for the Pelicans. New Orleans is back in action tonight on a back-to-back. They're in Brooklyn visiting the Nets. James Harden is out at least the next 10 games or 10 days, dealing with a hamstring injury. Kevin Durant could be returning to the lineup for the Nets tonight. So Durant might be in action, might be back in action for Brooklyn as the Pelicans are looking for a win after last night's loss when Zion was back after being out the last 3 games. He had 34. Lonzo had 12 and 11. He also had 8 boards last night for the Pelicans as they look to get back on track tonight versus the Nets. Hour 2 coming up, Jordy Culotta Show, as we are presented every single day by Go Chevrolet, GEAUX Chevrolet.com. We come back, we'll talk LSU baseball with Wilson Alexander. Relief Health, the only way to get your health care in 2021. In your home or on site, Relief is changing how health care is delivered to you. No more doctor's offices, no more waiting rooms. Download the app today, Relief Health, from the Apple or Google app stores. You can get connected to a local doctor in your community or just order a test directly without talking to a doctor. Their COVID tests are live, and right now they have the Moderna vaccine. Online at reliefhealth.com or download the app from your Apple or Google app stores now. Relief Health, changing the way that healthcare is brought to you in 2021. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Are you self-employed? Then you need to learn about Angel Oak's Home Loans Bank Statement program that they're offering, which makes you eligible as a self-employed borrower to purchase or refinance a home without requiring a tax return. If you want to learn more, get in touch with me. Email me, Jordy at jordyculotta.com, to learn about the Bank Statement Loan Program offered by Angel Oak. Jordy at jordyculotta.com to learn more. Relief Health, the only way to get your health care in 2021. In your home or on site, Relief is changing how health care is delivered to you. No more doctor's offices, no more waiting rooms. Download the app today, Relief Health, from the Apple or Google app stores. You can get connected to a local doctor in your community or just order a test directly without talking to a doctor. All right, good stuff from Jacques Doucet, closing out hour number 1. Remember, the Jordy Culotta Show is podcasted. All of that is brought back to you by RMB Builders, our good friend Rhett Bourgeois and the crew over at RMB Builders, rmb-builders.com. Call him at 921-7062, or you can just log online, rmb-builders.com. Custom-made home if you need reconstruction done around the house or office that you're in. He's got commercial license as well. Let him help you out over at RMB Builders, rmb-builders.com. We were talking a little bit about LSU baseball with Jacques, and right now, bad start, obviously, in SEC play with the 1-8 start. Jaden Hill goes down over the weekend. LSU gets back in the win column last night as they were to take care of McNeese 14-1 after collecting 12 hits. Garrett Edwards picked up his first win of the season. 2 solid innings of work for Edwards, as LSU now 18-11 on the weekend will take off for a 3-game set to Lexington versus the Kentucky Wildcats, which cranks up on Friday. That'll be a 5:30 start for Kentucky as LSU baseball will take that on. Remember, real quick before we get to Wilson, if you've got food questions, get them in. We need your food questions for Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois coming up here at 8:30 this morning. So jump inside of the bunker and get your food questions answered. Wilson, good morning. How are you, man?
I'm all right, Jordy. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Thanks for your time as always. Devastating news over the weekend with Jaden Hill, Wilson. I just felt incredibly bad for the kid, man. I mean, being on that stage with the talent that he has and this never being able to get it right here since being on campus. Only 51 innings we've seen Hill throw. Where does Hill go from here? And what does this do to LSU's pitching rotation with their ace now on the shelf with the Tommy John surgery?
Yeah, it's just absolutely brutal for Jaden because he comes into the year as a potential top 5, top 10 draft pick. Even though he struggled this year, he was still in that conversation. And now he's going to have to get Tommy John surgery. That'll obviously put him out for a while. Paul Mainieri said on his radio show Monday that he'll still likely get drafted, but it affects his stock in a major way. We've seen players have Tommy John and still get drafted. JT Ginn last year out of Mississippi State was able to go in the second round, but he had a much longer track record than Jaden. So it's going to be it could affect his stock in a pretty big way. But Mainieri still expects him to get drafted and for this to be the ending of his LSU career, and it's a really disappointing ending. 2 of his 3 years at LSU ended with an elbow injury, and one of them because of the pandemic. We never really got to see him pitch all that much, and what we did get to see was so exciting. So it's disappointing that there's only 51 innings if this is it for him here. But as for what LSU does in the rotation, AJ Labels will move up to the Saturday spot. Landon Marcel will remain on Friday, and then Sunday at this point it's TBA. And Ari said it'll probably be TBA going into the weekend too. They'll kind of focus on trying to win those first 2 games. Have all hands on deck and see what's left on Sunday. They've got a few relievers who can give them some length in Blake Money, Will Helmers, Garrett Edwards. One of them will likely be the starter on Sunday. Even Mikhail Hilliard has some starting experience in his past, but he hasn't done it in a while. So they'll probably pick one of those guys to at least start the game, but it'll kind of be let's see what we've got here and piece it together come Sunday. And maybe they'll be able to find a more consistent starter moving forward.
The schedule's been brutal to start conference play, right? I mean, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. I mean, that's a tough opening stretch for sure. 1-8. They're not 1-8. Right? I mean, I know their record says they're 1-8, but they're not from a talent standpoint. Are they 1-8 in the conference, or is it just because of who they have opened up with, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I mean, yeah, going up the last thing they kind of needed was to have to face Vanderbilt and those 2 incredible arms this past weekend. I mean, those Gilmore Rocker and Jack Leiter are going to make anybody look bad. They're the 2 best pitchers in the country, and they're probably going to go within the top 3 picks for a reason. But LSU has struggled, and I mean, they're probably better than 1-8 because so many of their games have been decided by 1 or 2 runs. I think it's 5 of their 8 SEC games have been decided by 1 or 2 runs, and they've just been on the losing end of all of that. 5-4 loss to Vanderbilt on Sunday. 2 of those extra inning 1-run games against Tennessee. If things break a little bit differently, if they're able to start coming through with the clutch hits, and they can get this turned around a little bit, and at least maybe have a respectable end to the season and salvage something. So the talent looks like it's there to do it. Probably the problem is that the talent is just so young, and they're going up against some of the best pitching in the country. They've already faced a couple of really good staffs over the last 3 weekends. The thing that's tough about it is that it probably doesn't get much easier. I mean, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Arkansas, after they get back from Kentucky over the next 3 weeks, and they're all ranked within the top 10 in the country right now.
Stephen Miller has a question for you inside of the bunker, Wilson. He wants to know if you're able to get any updates on Zach Arnold.
Yeah, right. As of now, nothing new from last night. Zach, he got hit on the hand. They had x-rays done pretty late last night. Mainieri's worried about it. I mean, his hand just started immediate swelling, and that's never a good sign. We'll have a more clear picture a little bit later this morning.
It was good to see Giovanni DiGiacomo back out there and playing a little bit? Is there any expectation on his return? And if he comes back, what type of life can he enthuse into the program and into the team?
Yeah, he could provide some stability at that center field position. I mean, he was who they expected to start in center field the entire year, and then he's missed all but now, I guess, 7 games with a hamstring injury. So they've been rotating guys in and out of center field. It's been their most unpredictable spot. He could provide a lot of stability there. He's got a lot of defensive range. He could settle that aspect of things because there's been some catches that they haven't been able to make in the outfield that he probably makes because of his speed. Offensively, not sure how much he would boost them, just because, I mean, they came into the year a little bit unsure of his consistency as a hitter, and he hasn't faced a whole lot of pitching this season now. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly he can adjust to the SEC. Luckily, he has a little bit of experience already in his career against SEC arms. And we saw him last night. I mean, he hit a double into the left field corner to score LSU's first run. So, maybe he can at least provide a little bit of a boost on that end as well. But certainly in the defensive side, if he can stay healthy now, that'll be a big help.
Wilson Alexander joining us here from The Advocate, covers the LSU baseball program. He's a great follow on Twitter if you're looking for the latest in LSU, around LSU basketball, LSU baseball, excuse me. He's at WH Alexander _ on Twitter if you want to keep up with Wilson and his work around LSU baseball. What have you made of the defense, Wilson? Because I think that's something that's been a little surprising, at least to me here through the start of SEC play. Has just been some of the struggles around the defensive part of the game for the Tigers.
Yeah, it hasn't been great. You can see why Maneri was so concerned about that coming into the year. I mean, that was his number one concern, I think, coming into this season, was the defense along the infield in particular. He knew Trey Morgan was going to help quite a bit, and Trey has. He saved, I don't even know how many errors at this point with his range around first base. But they just aren't a superior defensive team, particularly in the infield. Just playing Collier Cranford at second base has helped. He's incredibly athletic. He's got a lot of range, and you get in the hole. He made a play at shortstop last night, actually, late in the game, that showed you what he can do defensively. Range all the way to his right, but threw a runner out at first. But he's going to be playing second base, and so they aren't great defensively, and that has definitely hurt them a little bit. And then, of course, not having DeGiacomo has hurt defensively in center, and they haven't been a great defensive team, and that's one of the things Maneri likes most to have in a team is really solid defense and good pitching, and they haven't had the defense that much this year. It hasn't been terrible, but it just hasn't been all that reliable. It's not winning them many games, really, at this point.
LSU has always been kind of notorious for their struggles in midweek games, and they've flipped the script this year almost to where they're almost dominating midweek games. How do they get some of that to roll over to the weekend? Because it's the same sport. You're playing the same game. It's just that the competition goes up a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about last night. I was like, wow, well, finally LSU is undefeated in the midweek games and hasn't lost an in-state team, and they can't seem to win on the weekend. Part of it, I think, maybe this year is just the talent in college baseball. I mean, those good teams like LSU, big programs got a injection of talent that there might be a little bit of a discrepancy between the big blue blood programs and everybody else this year. And so that might be helping a little bit, but how they get it to transfer over, I don't know, but they certainly need to. It's just tough because the pitching gets so much more difficult on the weekend. The SEC is just absolutely loaded this year, especially, near the top of the conference. They've got so many, teams ranked within the top 10. LSU's played most of them.
The midweek game matter guy is pounding his chest.
Right.
I mean, he is the life of the party right now, man.
To what degree, though? What fault? You finally got what you wanted.
Exactly. I mean, you're dominant in the midweek games, but you can't tie your shoes on the weekend, it looks like, right now. Wilson, take me inside of a newsroom, and I don't know if you guys are even back in the office with COVID protocols right now, but I'm not asking your opinion because I know that there are people in your organization doing incredible work around these stories, and Andre Gallo and Brooks Cabina and even you to a degree have been on this story on the beat. But what is a newsroom now like within the print industry with a story like what is happening at LSU around the athletic program and around the university? What is it like in 2021? Because I think that the newsroom has changed. The dynamics have changed so much, especially within the last 5 years of media. But this seems like a story that is being traditionally covered. What is it like in your newsroom every day right now?
It's stressful. Andrea and Brooks are certainly doing a good job of handling most of that for us. While I just do baseball really at this point, but they it's all virtual mostly. Our editors are in the newsroom, and I was in the newsroom recently and saw Andrea from a socially distant spot, but they a lot of it's communication over Slack and calling and try to figure things out together and try to just work together and collaborate even though we're not in the same place, and just cover this the best that we can. I mean, I feel like the way we cover it doesn't change being in 2021, but sort of the communication pieces of it do, not being in the exact same spot. A lot of cutting phone calls and just trying to do the best that we can to cover all that.
Is it your attention just on baseball right now? I mean, is that your sole focus?
Pretty much, yeah. They wanted me to handle the baseball season. Obviously, that's something that fans care quite a bit about. And we've got Brooks and Andrea, who are obviously capable
Sure.
to handle those other stories. And so right now it's just the baseball stuff for me, but helping out however I can when they need it.
Give me one preview on Kentucky. What is LSU? What's the challenges going to Lexington this weekend for a very fragile baseball team? It seems like right now.
Yeah, I think that this is a good chance for LSU to at least win a game. Kentucky isn't ranked. But they have a solid team. It's a chance for LSU to win a couple games on the road, and they need to go up there and do it in order to get this season turned around. At least be competitive again, but they need to start winning some games, and I think they can do that against Kentucky. We'll just we'll see how they work out.
Great work as always, my friend Wilson Alexander. He's on Twitter at WHAlexander_. He's covering the LSU baseball program for both the Advocate and NOLA News, and you can catch him here on the Jordy Culotta show, dropping some knowledge weekly here with us. Thank you, man. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Jordy. Have a great rest of your day.
Yes, sir. You too. There's Wilson Alexander checking in from the Advocate this morning. Latest on LSU baseball. Get the win last night as Tigers back in the win column, as we told you. Big night with the bats, 12 hits. Jordy, 4 of 5 from the plate last night, 2 doubles, 4 ribbies, a run scored.
Jeez.
As he's a stud.
I mean, but there's got to be a way to transition this thing over to the weekend.
I agree, man. I mean, Dylan Cruz, Jordy. I mean, these cats are players, man. I mean, you got Landon Marceau, you got Arms. I mean, no way. No way.
It shouldn't happen like this.
I mean, LSU's 22. I mean, that Vanderbilt's 22 runs better.
Right.
Than LSU. I mean, on that Thursday, Friday matchup. I mean, when you're throwing your 2 big guns. Now, I know the Jaden Hill situation, but I mean, come on. They're not that bad. They cannot be this bad. I know that was probably a dumb question when I asked Wilson Alexander. They're not 1-8, right? I mean, well, yeah, you dumbass. They're 1-8.
It's written down.
But I mean, like, what I was trying to imply is like they're not 1-8 bad in the conference. I mean, they've had to play Mississippi State. You've had to play Vanderbilt and Tennessee. And I'm not excusing the games because I mean, the name on the hat should make you relevant and competitive, against anybody in the conference. But that's a murderer's row start. And I mean, just trying to, I guess, figure it out. I mean, are they really 1-8 bad? Was just kind of the thought behind my question. And
well, it's almost like they're a little shell shock going into the weekend series. Though once SEC play started and it went the way it did, it's like they're definitely not looking forward to it. And it looks like they love playing these midweek games. Yeah. And the step up in competition, it can't be that big of a jump. And I know that's what he said, but these guys, like, they're players. That's what you signed up for. And you can't be going into every weekend series and thinking, well, this could be a sweep. Like, it should be take 2 or 3. It should at least get 1. Just get this ball rolling in the right direction at some point. You got to steer the ship.
Dom Richard inside of the bunker over there at Go Automotive. Remember the new used car lot over there on Florida Boulevard. Stop in and see Dom and the crew at Go Chevrolet. We need food questions. If you have food questions for our chef, jump inside of the bunker right now and drop your hashtag Ask the Chef questions as Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois will be here at 8:30 this morning, I think, from a new spot. He'll be up in South Carolina.
This guy.
Yeah, man, just living the good life. As daily here on the Jordy Culotta Show, we are brought to you by Elevate Treatment Center. Remember, over at Elevate, they can help you with your drug and alcohol rehab and detox over at Elevate Treatment and Legacy Center, drug and rehab here in Baton Rouge, off of Jefferson Highway. If you log online, you can begin your treatment there, or you can give them a call. They are looking and dedicated to treating patients who are battling drug and alcohol addiction, and their goal is simple. They want to guide you in your steps towards recovery and help you achieve and maintain sobriety. They are a treatment center based in South Louisiana. They provide treatment for addiction disorders and behavioral illnesses in adults. If you need the treatment and want to start today, or if you're reaching out for a loved one, online, elevatetreatment.com. That's ELEV, the number 8, treatment.com to get in touch with Elevate. We'll talk to Ross Dellenger coming up here at 8:45 this morning, as Delly will stop in, give us his latest take on LSU, some of the college football stories that he's watching here during the spring and what he anticipates coming up in the fall. But a lot of this conversation with Dellenger will be faced around and will be focused around LSU and just what's going on with the university right now. As we said, the top 3 headlines over at SI.com, if you click on the college football tab, is all around LSU, and nothing in the stories have anything to do with the football program or on the field football stories of what is coming back or what LSU is expected to do in the 2021 season. It is all geared and centered around off-the-field stories like LSU facing second investigation for mishandling cases, which was announced yesterday by the Department of Education, announcing it's launching another investigation into LSU's reported mishandling of sexual misconduct cases. The federal agency's Office for Civil Rights notified LSU of the Title IX compliance investigation back on March 31st, and just a snippet of that letter said there has been extensive media coverage of the university's potential mishandling of complaints of sexual assault, including allegations that university officials ignored sexual assault allegations and that were made against former athletes. The department will be analyzing LSU's mishandling of student complaints of sexual assault and harassment from 2018 through the 2019 academic school year up until present day. This is the second investigation from the federal agency since February, which is when the Department of Education notified LSU that they would be conducting a far-reaching probe of the Tigers' compliance with federal campus safety laws. So more of the same here on a Wednesday for LSU, as the Newswire is just littered with LSU stories.
They need something else to happen.
Dealing with they do, but they keep creating the news.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what is happening. They are continuing to stay in the news, whether it is lawsuits or statements or written statements or Senate hearing. They're going to be back in the news tomorrow. They're going to be back in the news on Friday. They're going to dominate the news over the weekend, because on Thursday at the Senate hearing, whether or not Orgeron shows up, somebody's going to be there. Scott Woodward's going to have to show up. Whoever's being
and who does?
He doesn't have to show up.
Well, that's the news. That's the story in itself also. Whoever
Exactly.
does and doesn't go, and then that's another talking point. It's like, why wouldn't he show up to this? Because it is a big deal, but also it's a little bit of, I'm not ready for that stage yet.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting because, I mean, like I said, look, Ed Orgeron's a football coach. That's his specialty. Recruiting, obviously, is one of them, and to be a good recruiter, you got to have some BS with you. You got to have the gift of gab. You got to be able to talk a little bit. You're walking into a professional arena of bullshitters when you walk into a political house, when you walk into a state capitol, when you walk into a committee hearing with senators and or House of Representatives. These legislators are smooth, slick. That is their specialty.
Big league of bullshit.
Just huge league of bullshit. I mean, all stars of it.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if I've told this story on this platform, but my first year out of college, I was a lobbyist up on the Capitol. up at the Capitol. Now, I didn't lobby any bills because I just didn't have the experience, but I got a front row seat of what being a lobbyist was like. I'd see Scott Woodward up there all the time as he was handling the government relations for LSU. This was during that time period. And, I mean, professionals, bro.
Have you ever seen Thank You for Smoking?
I mean, no, I've not seen all of it, but it's the lobbyist.
Right, yeah, it paints a very good picture of what that job. And I'm sure it's a little exaggerated, but it does make you feel very uneducated if you can. And
Charles Bowden inside of the bunker said that Scott Woodward told the Senate committee that he is not showing up. And like I said in the early portions of today's show, I would take the bad PR for a week rather than giving them the data to replay the video and the testimony by showing up. If I'm Ed Ogeron, I don't know if you're Scott Woodward. I mean, ideally these are your bosses. I mean, they're all, all these guys are state employees. I mean, if they summon you down, it's not like they have subpoena power, but if they ask you to show up to answer questions, I mean, it's like your boss calling you to say, comes to my office, and you say, not now. I mean, I saw where Verge Osbury told them earlier this week he's going to be out of town. Ed Ogeron wrote a letter saying that he's going to skip out on the hearings. I think from a PR standpoint, that's the right thing to do. I mean, because you don't want, you don't want to get into a box with these people. Because as I said, there's still going to be the political component to it within this committee hearing, where I understand that Regina Barrow's committee is tasked towards finding resolutions and finding answers for victims that have been sexually harassed or have been in situations where they have been assaulted. But there's still a political component to it, in the sense of, you bring Ed Ogeron into a room of 25 politicians, 50% of the room can't stand him to start off with, just because he makes as much money he does from the state, and they disagree with it. They make it political. They don't care about the football program. You put him in a box with those people and give them an opportunity to question him, it could just turn bad very quick. So I wholeheartedly agree with, keep him out of that box. Keep him out of that
ability to just get caught.
Absolutely.
Just in a situation where he's not 100%. Ready to answer any of these
Here's my
questions.
written statement.
Yeah, I'm good. No
and
more questions.
Anytime you want to talk about it, refer to my written statement, because I don't want to walk into anything. I don't want to put anything on the record. I don't want anything to represent me that just could come back to get you. And I think in that arena, those guys are set up for that. Masters tee times have been set over at Augusta. Champions dinner last night as Augusta is set to tee off tomorrow. Some of the tee times that we're paying attention to for Thursday's opening round: Sergio Garcia will fire off at 10:18 tomorrow morning. Jordan Spieth, who is playing right now with some confidence after his latest win in Texas last weekend, is playing tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Phil Mickelson is teeing off at 1:12. Dustin Johnson, who won the Masters back in November, who's the defending champ, will tee off tomorrow at 10:30. We're going to give our listeners and audience a chance for a bracket here at JordyCulottaShow.com. Lizzie, tell them about it.
Yeah, Masters bracket. We're going to be able to so we'll do it like a auction style. So you have a set amount of money to pick 6 golfers, and lowest combined score wins. We'll set up a little prize or something, definitely some merch, and we'll see if we can get some big players involved in the game. But that's essentially the idea. 6 golfers, lowest combined score, and you have a set amount of money, auction style, and then we'll get that thing going.
Nice. I am looking up the bracket challenge winners right now, because we owe them gear and we owe them. Are you kidding me? Lee Carney came in second place.
Could have got to go spar.
This guy, Lee Carney. Are you kidding me? The first place winner, Justin Pate, was the winner. Justin Pate, make sure you get in touch with us as you finish first in our bracket challenge. Brought to you by Just Winging It. We got some gear for you. We got some Just Winging It gift cards for you. Lee Carney over at Go Chevrolet. Goodness gracious, bro. We got you taken care of. And then Lance Freeman were the top 3 in our bracket challenge. Last time I checked, my sister, Callie Swinson, was last place, 326 of 326, and she is at the bottom again. She is the loser.
We said we'd
326 of 326. Callie Culotta Swinson is the worst of the bracket entries. Her final 4 consisted of Kansas, Tennessee, Georgetown, and North Carolina, with the Tar Heels and the Hoyas duking it out for the national championship. She finished with a low number of 65. And when I tell you 65 is far and away the worst of the contestants, Swinson at 65 overall total points at 326th place. At 325, Clark Stiltner is second to last place, and he's got 150 points. So the fall off,
oh my goodness,
the fall off from 325 to 326 is nearly 90 points. When you're talking about, that is a specialty type of bad.
Well, it goes to show that if the bracket goes a different way, she would have far and away been a winner. She took some shots out there.
Big gambles.
Big gambles.
Big gambles. Roy Williams and the Tar Heels, Patrick Ewing and the Hoyas. My girl was swinging for the fences.
She had that 1980s feel to the bracket.
She was going for the spark, bro.
Yeah.
She was going for the spark.
That's how you win it.
That's how you win the spark, or finish 326th.
And just never check it again.
Out of 326. Shout out to Megan making money, as she was able to win the FanDuel. Megan making money in the Culotta bracket, 323.
Oh, she said she was doing some different ones. She diversified her portfolio a little bit. But obviously had a great win for the FanDuel, winning $10,000.
Huge win for Megan making money. So good for her. We will answer your food questions coming up here in a couple of minutes on the Jordy Culotta Show. Remember, you still have an opportunity to get your food questions in. If you have anything that you're looking for answers around the kitchen, Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois will stop in here in a couple of minutes. Remember, daily, we're brought to you by AdvantaClean. AdvantaClean is online at ADVANTA, AdvantaClean.com. You can find them in Baton Rouge here locally over in Industrialplex. Numbers 369-5228, 225-369-5228. Water, fire, or mold. You see that around the house or business this morning, get in touch with Bradley Lynch. He'll knock it out for you. He'll take care of the contractors. He'll take care of the insurance company, and he will knock this out for you. If you have to call Lynch, it sucks. It's going to be a bad day. You got water, fire, or mold around your house or office, and that ain't good. But Lynch can take care of that. He can take care of it easily. He's got testimonies that you can find online of people that have come and gone and had a great experience. Find out for yourself online at VantaClean.com. Tell them you heard it here on the Jordy Culotta Show. 225-369-5228, 369-5228, or online at VantaClean.com as a proud supporter here of the Jordy Culotta Show.
Oh, and the link to the bracket is in the description of the YouTube page. So go in there, click it, fill it out, and then you can, bracket your pool, make your choices, and then we'll see who can get in.
Remember, we always appreciate you liking, sharing, and commenting on our posts, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. We appreciate you being there on the Jordy Culotta Show page at jordyculottashow.com. So make sure you stay involved with us. When we come back, we'll answer your food questions. Jean-Paul Bourgeois will check in from Duck Camp Dinners next here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Gearing up for spring and summer down here in South Louisiana, and you want to keep your lawn maintained during these sunny seasons, get in touch with our friend Blake Abear over at Abear's Lawn Maintenance, where he says, you grow it, I mow it. 225-485-8022, 225-485-8022 is where you can find Abear's Lawn and Maintenance, the official lawn and maintenance company of the undisclosed location. Go Chevrolet is proud to announce Go Express Auto Sales, the new used car lot located in the capital city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Go Express Auto Sales is online at goexpressautosales.com, or you can search them on Facebook and social media at Go Express Auto Sales, the newest addition to the family of Go Chevrolet. Remember, Go Chevrolet is located down in Laplace, Louisiana, but now welcoming aboard Go Express, the new used car lot located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at 11522 Florida Boulevard. Relief Health, the only way to get your health care in 2021. In your home or on site, Relief is changing how health care is delivered to you. No more doctor's offices, no more waiting rooms. Download the app today, Relief Health, from the Apple or Google app stores. You can get connected to a local doctor in your community or just order a test directly without talking to a doctor. Their COVID tests are live, and right now they have the Moderna vaccine. Online at reliefhealth.com or download the app from your Apple or Google app stores now. Relief Health, changing the way that healthcare is brought to you in 2021. Talking food here every week on the Jordy Culotta Show, and we do it with the best. Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois, a South Louisiana native. Thibodaux born and raised, has been all over the world cooking, and now I think on the move. Last week we checked in for a stint in Clearwater where he was for about 3 weeks, and I think now moving up the East Coast to South Carolina is where the host of Duck Camp Dinners and the online, you can find him at jeanpaulbourgeois.com, and the resident chef of the Jordy Culotta Show, Mr. Jean-Paul Bourgeois. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing today?
Doing good. Just me and Lloyd in the studio as everybody's spring breaking down here in South Louisiana and the Jordy Culotta Show.
He knows all about that, dude.
Yes,
You don't got to
indeed.
worry about permanent vacation.
We on the road. You on the road moving too as well, right? You moving up the coast?
We are. We came to Charleston last night, or really 2 nights ago, but really got into our Airbnb today. And look, we're struggling with the spring break folks as well. We can't get to the beach we want to get to because it's so crowded with spring break guys right now. But that's all right. We're here for 3 weeks, so we'll wait it out and get over there in a couple of days.
Is that kind of the deal, Chef? 3 week stays at each place and just kind of get you a taste test of where you are and what you like?
Yeah, pretty much a 3 to 4 week stay, and just kind of develop somewhat of a routine, wake up and not have really an agenda of all kind of places to go and things to do like you would in a week, really cramming things in and trying to figure out, what that routine looks like in every day. And if that routine seems like it could fit for a year, 2 years, 20, who the hell knows? But, yeah, I think that's the idea, just to take our time and just kind of vibe with the city a little bit.
So the day's focus is how much is centered around cooking?
So this is like a bore. This is all your listeners will be like, God, what a lame chef here. So my wife and I are trying to keep like the big meals to one a day, and so that's really focused my cooking into even a lunch or a dinner, but not trying to do both because it's just her and I have this really bad habit of cooking way too much. Uh-huh. And I have even a worse habit of eating when I cook too much. Like I feel like I have to eat it all. So I try to really temper my kind of like wants and needs that I've had all of my 36 years of just like devouring food. So that's a recipe for failure in my book, in my case. But so that's essentially what we're doing. I mean, I cook every day. Sometimes it's a simple BLT from the farmer's market. Sometimes it's a little more kind of bigger meals or more extravagant kind of meals, and it just really depends. Like especially here in Charleston, soft shell crabs are in season. Summer's rolling in, and spring, it's still kind of cool here, so it feels like spring, but you're getting all these starting to get all these really great seafood items come into play, and offshore fishing is picking up. So all the snappers and the wahoo and all that, the bite's hot there. Inland fishing for redfish, speckled trout, and flounder is really heating up right now. But softies are on my radar, and that's kind of my goal while I'm here, is just to eat a soft shell crab every day if I can.
Chef, I am great for the camp. If I was Duck Camp Diners, if I was up on Duck Camp Diners, I would be a camp guy. I would be staying back and making sure everything was ready for the for the parties at night when everybody got back from the hunt. For whatever reason, going into the year, I went to my brother-in-law's place, and they put me out in a deer stand, and I just went ham, bro. They gave me a gun. I killed 2 deer in one hunt. It was an unbelievable experience for your boy. Unbelievable. I mean, like, I came back. Nobody believed me. We had to go back out there. They turned out to be button bucks, which I didn't know the whole rules around, so I'm not going to be doing it again. But I got a freezer full of meat, and my girlfriend the other night, she cooks this great venison taco dinner, which we enjoy. My one responsibility, chef, is after we eat to pack up all of the leftovers and put them in the Tupperware and put them in the refrigerator for the night. I put them in the Tupperware, but it was still hot. We sat down, we're back into The Wire. So we sat down, we watched a couple episodes of The Wire, make our way to bed. I forgot to put them in the fridge. When I woke up the next morning about 4:30, 5 o'clock, I saw them sitting on the stove. I thought about just putting them back into the fridge and not saying anything. But then I thought that the thought of food poison was around. So I said, you know what? Let me just tell her that I screwed that up. They're still sitting in the fridge. We have not taken a bite out. This was Sunday night. Are we in the clear? Is that okay? Is anybody going to die from that?
No, you won't.
All right.
You won't die from that. And fully cooked, fully cooked ground meat is would be a lot safer to eat if something was cooked like mid-rare or medium or something like that. So, I mean, your time and temperature kind of scenario, like you wouldn't want it in that 40 to 70 degree range for more than 4 hours. That's what like food health officials might tell you, that harmful bacteria can form in that time and temperature zone. But for the most part, I've done that myself, my man, and I've used it, especially if you go ahead and heat that up to like get it really hot in the pan or in a soup and put that, like if you were to put that ground meat in leftovers and beans or something like that, which would be a great kind of utilization for the leftovers. You bringing that up to a nice simmer for 15 minutes, and it's killing anything that may have formed anyway. So, I think you're in the clear. Obviously, you did right by putting in Tupperware, letting it sit for a little bit before you put it in the fridge. And then even when you put it in the fridge, I like to keep it uncovered for a couple hours if I can, and then cover it. But we're all forgetful every now and then. But I think you could salvage that meal.
Great answer, chef. Great answer. And I know she's listening, so get off my back. We're good. We can eat them today for lunch.
I'm having lunch.
That's right. Patrick Kimmery, Inside of the Bunker. Hashtag Ask Chef Jean-Paul Bou. What's the best ballpark concession stand food?
The best ballpark concession stand food?
Yes,
you
sir.
mean like a specific ballpark or specific food at a concession stand?
If you got a specific ballpark, hit me.
Well, man, I like Wrigley because I'm a huge fan of Chicago dogs and hot dogs and stuff like that. I think there's nothing.
Is that Bratz?
Brats.
Yeah, well, brats are part of them, but just like the style with that hot pepper and pickle and deli mustard on it, I really dig those types of hot dogs. And obviously, I think hot dogs are one of the greatest ballpark foods around. Only because they're single. They're one-handed kind of foods. I don't have to hold with two, like a thing of popcorn or something like that.
Ease of access.
Because I need a hot dog in one hand and a beer in the other. And so I'm a big fan of single-handed foods at ballparks. And Chicago's Wrigley Field and their hot dogs over there are some of my favorite ballpark foods around. Yeah.
How strict are you on the mustard ketchup policy on a hot dog? I know there's some real guard keepers of whether you can't put ketchup on it or you have to put mustard on it.
I'm a heavy mustard on hot dog kind of guy. I love mustard on my dogs. My wife is a ketchup and mustard kind of gal, which, I'm not a fan of ketchup, but I do believe everybody has the right to eat the food that they like the way they like it.
Amen.
And I've been very, very vocal about that, especially when people complain about people cooking well-done steak. Sure, it may not be the way that, like, I eat my steaks, but you have the right to eat the food the way you want it cooked.
Amen.
And especially if you're paying for it, you better not complain about it.
Amen.
So as far as ketchup goes, not my move on a dog, but I ain't gonna hate on anybody that does.
And speaking of preferences, you were just talking about steak. I just got a question here. Favorite cut to cook, and tips for cooking steak at home.
Favorite cut to cook. Man, my favorite steak to kind of cook and eat has, and this is such a basic answer, but it's gonna be a ribeye. I love ribeyes. Now I love the caps as well. The spinalis are also known as the rib cap. You're finding that more accessible throughout even places like Sam's Club or Costco, or you can get them from places like Snake River Farms online. You can get just the ribeye cap, which is why I love the ribeye, because I love that cap section, which is the section that kind of goes over the eye of the ribeye. And when you remove that, I think that's one of the tastiest pieces, and it's worth the ribeye anyway. That's one of my favorite things. Also, the bacana is also is one of my favorite kind of roast, and I like to cook it whole. It comes from Brazilian kind of barbecue places where they'll cut them in, I don't know, like 3-inch steaks, then kind of fold them and skewer them, then roast them over a fire. But I like taking the whole bacana and just seasoning it overnight, and then smoking it, and then putting it on direct fire and getting that kind of crisp and char to mid-rare medium. So I would say ribeyes are kind of my go-to. Picanas are a fun thing to slice for tacos or just like kind of snacks for the group if you just want to slice meat. And that goes into one of my biggest tips, especially if it's something like, if you're in the 2-inch, if you got a 2-inch ribeye or larger, and that goes for anything like prime rib or a big New York strip or a porterhouse, things like that. Go ahead and season it with a little salt. Not fully season it like you would a normal steak, but season it, just lightly coat all the sides of the steak with salt, and then put it in your fridge overnight, uncovered on a rack, like on a baking rack on a cookie, wired rack. Thank you. On a baking tray with a wired rack, and then put that steak in there in the fridge overnight. And before you cook that, you can re-season it with a little salt and pepper, and then grill it. And it forms this great pellicle, which is this dried section on the edge of the meat that really gives it a good sear. And that salt is able to kind of penetrate into those proteins a little bit. It also kind of has this dry aging effect while it's in the fridge. Don't want to do that for more than 24 hours. I think 12 hours is the magic number when it comes to 2-inch kind of steaks, 24 hours when it comes to big prime rib roast and such. But really salting it before you're cooking is a good move. And not only for steaks, but big old pork chops or pork roast or things like that, even pork shoulders that you're putting on the smoker. Give it a season. The bigger the roast, the bigger the protein, the longer you want to go. And so like even a brisket could go for 24 hours with salt and pepper before you even smoke it. That really just kind of gives that extra time of seasoning, really helps penetrate and forms this great pellicle on the outside of the meat, forming great smoke rings, a great crust for your steak or pork chops.
Laura Cook from the beach this morning asked Chef, best seasoning and way to cook salmon.
Salmon.
So a lot of people take the skin off on salmon. I would really say try not to do that. Especially if you have a good butcher or you know how to do it yourself, keep the skin on. You can go ahead and scale that though. And what I like to do, my favorite thing is, if I can, I'm going to roast that. The bigger piece of salmon, the better. So say if I'm cooking for 4 people and I'm cooking salmon, right? Instead of cooking it into separate pieces of salmon, like 4 separate pieces, I'm going to keep that as a whole plank.
Absolutely.
And the reason why is because I'm much able to control the temperature of that salmon as a one piece as opposed to 4 separate pieces. And then I'm going to keep that. I'm going to season it with just salt on the skin. Then I'm going to use whatever rub I like or whatever seasoning I like on the flesh part. And then I'm going to, if I have access to it, I'm going to roast that salmon kind of high above the fire, skin side down, and allow that skin to dry up, crisp up. And as that skin crisp up on that one side, it's kind of cooking all that in there, that salmon really slow on the top. I think the biggest mistake when it comes to cooking pieces of fish like salmon, where they're really best eaten mid-rare medium, it's cooking too hot and too fast and too hard. And the reason why is because you just have more ability to overcook that piece and make it dry and so on. And really, the fattiness and the silkiness and the creaminess of that salmon is really what we're going for in a medium cook. And keeping that salmon nice and high, protected by the skin, which is going to get crisp, is going to give you some textural differences, going to give you all those great kind of oils that you're looking for from a nutrition standpoint of salmon. That's all in the skin, so keeping that is great, but it also acts as a little diffuser or barrier for the flesh that's on the top side. And then when you're about 80% there, you can drop that grill down or move it over to the fire, flip it for like 15 seconds, and then you're good. And you seal in that top flesh layer while you have that crispy skin.
Tom Granning, damn, I'm ready to eat. Great segment this morning. Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois, online, the host of Duck Camp Dinners. Chef, I got an email last week going into the weekend from a listener in Canada thanking me for having you on the show weekly and introducing him to Duck Camp Dinners. He's a Louisiana native who lives in Canada now and is always looking for a touch, a taste, a sight of home. And we put him on Duck Camp Dinners with your weekly segment, and says that it's fastly become one of his favorite shows on YouTube. And the reason is he explained is because he said it took him home. It took him back down to Louisiana. And it's all around the camaraderie with your friends, the cooking around the duck camp, the stories, the hunting. It's a fantastic production, and it touched somebody up in Canada off of this segment. So we thank you very much for your time every week.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate that. It is heartwarming and satisfying, and the reason why we want to make something for Louisianans to be proud of. But for that listener that's listening, we're toying with the idea of season 2 being in Quebec and Canada, and making that connection between the Acadian French and the Louisiana French, and how that movement happened from a historical reference, how we duck hunt, how we eat, how we listen to music. So if you're listening, if you know anybody in Quebec, if you know some duck hunters that have a great story up in Canada, especially in that area of the French-speaking Quebec province, let us know. Hit up Jordy, and he'll get in touch with me.
Hell yeah. Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois at gmail.com is where you can get in touch with him directly, and you can get all of the information, whether it's Duck Camp Dinners, Spiceology, and recipes that you may be looking for at jeanpaulbourgeois.com. And every Wednesday at 8:30 Central Time, you can check out our boy right here with us. We appreciate it as always. Have a great week, man.
Thank you, guys. Have a great morning. See y'all.
Yes, sir. There he is,
Bye.
the chef, checking in from Charleston, bro. Brian Fletcher inside of the bunker, thinking that we would love Charleston. The vibes there seem very Jordy Culotta showish. We appreciate it. I think Brian played at the Citadel up there, if I'm not mistaken. He was an offensive lineman up at the Citadel, which is in that area of the country.
Good party scene up there.
That's what I've heard. I've heard that as well. I've heard that it is a very good scene. Daily, we're brought to you by Hub International. Remember, the official insurance company of the New Orleans Saints, the New Orleans Pelicans, and of course the Jordy Culotta Show. Damn, I just saw a text message from Katie saying that when her husband David Alligood was in the hospital last week for kidney stones, which he described as trying to deliver a car.
Too much of that going on around here.
There's a lot of vibes around that. I'm just trying to stay outside of those. He fell in love with Duck Camp Dinner. So I'm telling you, it's a fantastic production. It's on the Mossy Oak YouTube page. All right, let's go up to Washington, D.C. and link up with Delly. I think Delly left the UCLA Gonzaga game to get down to the press room.
I hate that. I hate that stuff.
Me too. Let me confirm that with him before I take it to the air. Good morning, buddy. How are you? We're live.
I'm doing good, Jordy. How are you?
I'm good, man. Before we get into everything on this, the stories that have kept you busy now for the last couple of weeks with LSU. Did I read correctly where you left press row early from the UCLA Gonzaga game as you were covering it to get down to the press room and did not see overtime? Did I read that correctly?
No.
Okay.
You read that incorrectly. Let me tell you what happened. So I covered the first game.
Okay.
The first Final Four game, the blowout that Baylor won, beating Houston, and we had 3 people covering the last game. So I didn't actually have a press row seat for the last game. However, I was in the press room at the arena, and I probably could have gone and sat in the crowd if I wanted to. Instead, I went to the bar.
Well, very on brand, Delly.
On
brand. I mean, my man, when given an option, it doesn't matter if it's a classic college basketball game or an open bar. My man is going thong, flip-flop, and bar every single time, 10 out of 10 times. But March and sports, I thought that was kind of the threshold of being back. I thought that there was a feeling around that sports is trending and turning the corner to normalcy, and I thought the weekend in Indianapolis was the invitation to it. You were there, you were covering it. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it was. I do. It felt like we were back to as normal as you can be, or as we have been the last few months, and just to see, the celebration from teams and the big shots and all of the stories that normally come with March, we got, and so it felt somewhat normal. For us as media, what didn't feel normal, obviously, is that usually the best stories in March are found in the locker room, in their open locker rooms. And usually, and of course, we didn't have that this year, and hopefully that comes back next year, because that was badly missed. But I agree. It did feel kind of like, we're finally creeping back to normal,
Delly, I'm at your site right now. I'm at si.com, and I've clicked on your NCAA football tab, and the first 3 headlines at sportsillustrated.com/college football is headlines concerning LSU, and none of the stories are about the football team on the field. What is your perception of the program that you covered firsthand for 5 years, and how you view it now from a national scope and coverage?
Well, it's been kind of and I'll say I've only written a couple things about it. I've not. I don't know I've followed things from afar. I don't know too closely what's going on exactly, but clearly it's a mess. To put it mildly, it is a mess down there, and it seems like every day there's something new that pops up, and I just keep waiting for the day where things are quiet down there, but it hasn't happened yet, and it's kind of sad. It is sad to see that. I know a lot of those people down there that are involved, and I saw the latest lawsuit from Sharon Lewis.
Yeah.
Again, more Les Miles stuff, which again, was close to for a while and knew pretty well, and it's just sad to see.
When you see the state of the program night right now with Orgeron, what do you believe he's dealing with present day? I mean, I think a lot of people, when they first saw the stories, they thought that it would be more of a look into the past of LSU football, the recent past. But now he's being asked to sit down at Senate committee hearings tomorrow, in which he issued a statement saying that he will not be there, but answering or giving his account of the topic at hand. Where do you see the present day regime of LSU football having to deal with what they are going through at this point?
Yeah, I didn't expect Ed Orgeron to be too involved in any way, especially after the Hush Blackwell report came out and didn't feature his name much at all. I think it was one incident with guys, one or two incidents where he was included, and now to see some of the stuff going on, it's a little surprising. It's just like every day there's something new, and there's a new person involved or thrown into the mix, which probably tells you that this thing down there is wide ranging, right? It spans a lot of people, a lot of issues, and a lot of years. It sounds like, and it just doesn't feel like it's going away anytime soon. You have the lawsuit from Sharon Lewis, and then the Senate committee, and then which LSU should be, and people at LSU should be deeply concerned about the other thing that's going on, which we learned yesterday, is that the Department of Justice is opening up a second investigation. That of all the issues coming out and all the problems right now, that is the one, from what I understand from talking to some people down there, that there is the most anxiety about, because the Department of Justice digging more into athlete and student, harassment claims and how LSU handled them. There's going to be more, I have a feeling, coming out on that. There's a lot of, I'm sure, talk right now down there that is not about sports on the field.
Yeah.
And that's a kind of unusual for down there, just because of so many sports are so successful down there historically that it must be a weird time.
Ross, I think that you can pinpoint this second investigation back to the way that the public relations department has handled this at LSU. I think that the DOE is looking down here and saying, hang on. We've given them their first investigative report. They've hired an independent counsel to come in and investigate, and the only shakeup has happened at two universities outside of Baton Rouge. What the hell is going on? And then the public relations that have followed since then. I know that you don't have your thumb on the story, but do you have a thought there on the fallout from LSU and the way that they have handled the initial investigation, and what has centered around their university over the last couple of months has in fact kicked up another investigation, because it looks like in the wake of it, they still don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, the firing thing is interesting, because we always, in cases like this, somebody's always fired. I mean, even if they shouldn't be fired, they're fired. Because
right.
just
a CYA.
Calm,
yeah.
Right, exactly. And LSU's decided not to do that. And we're seeing the ramifications of it, right? If the story doesn't die, because you didn't fire people. And again, I'm not necessarily advocating for that, sure, or saying that it's the right move, but I can tell you this. I mean, just reading that report, I've said this over and over again on some shows, and maybe yours a few weeks ago, is that if that happened anywhere else, pretty much any other school, there were the people mentioned high up in that report. I mean, the second in command of the athletic department, it probably would be fired. I mean, that would probably fire, even just to calm people, sure, and appease certain people. But LSU's chosen not to do that, and partly because they've chosen not to do that, we're sitting here. I'm sitting here on a plane back from Indianapolis to D.C., getting text messages from the school and people at the school about a letter that Orgeron wrote to a Senate committee concerning an incident that happened 4 years ago. I mean, we're here because nobody was fired.
Yeah. Ross Dellenger checking in from Sports Illustrated. Give me one storyline in spring football that you're watching. One team, one program. Yeah. Is there anything that has grabbed your attention?
Man, not really. It's funny when you cover the NCAA tournament. And that was the first time I covered the full thing. you're like in a bunker. The games are going on from like, especially the first weekend, obviously, but even the second weekend, games are going on from like noon to midnight, and you're covering as much as you can. And you're writing a story or two a day, and you're kind of in a bunker. Haven't even paid attention a ton to the spring football. I hope to get around to the other spring football, the FCS, and cover some playoff games in the next probably 3 or 4 weeks, because those are coming. So I'm more interested in that. I think it's fascinating. Sure. And, the draft is going to be going on while some of these FCS players are playing and getting drafted, which should really be bizarre. It's going to be interesting to watch. But as far as what you're asking about, I haven't paid attention too much, but I can tell you, right before spring started, I swung in and visited Auburn. I was over there actually doing a FCS spring football story, and then I went to Jackson State. But I swung through and saw Brian Harsin over at Auburn, and he's trying to build something over there. So that was interesting, and I hope to kind of catch up this week or next on what else is happening through spring, man. Because it's just been all shooty hoops for me, which is always rare, but this year it called for it.
Two nice stories coming out of the FCS over the weekend here in South Louisiana with Dawson Odoms and Southern, who have a very dynamic offense, defeating Jackson State and Deion Sanders, and then Frank Wilson and McNeese bottling up or nearly bottling up Lindsey Scott Jr. and the Nicholls State offense, who have been tremendous here to start the season, and Frank Wilson with all the adversity that the Pokes dealt with the Hurricanes and obviously with COVID and getting a nice win over the weekend. Was good to see some of the images coming out of the locker room. Ross, keep up the great work, man, and we always appreciate your time here on the Jordy Culotta Show. We'll check in again soon.
All right, Jordy.
Thank you, buddy. There's Ross Dellenger checking in from SI.
Quick on the hang-up
as
trigger.
he gives as he gives his account on where LSU is kind of from a national standpoint and scope there. And every Wednesday is Women Crush Wednesday here on the Jordy Culotta Show, as the Gridiron Show is doing tremendous work. If you missed earlier this week, it is a must watch with former longtime gymnastics head coach for the LSU program, Dee Bro, joining Abby, Whitney, and the crew over at the Gridiron Show. And Abby now joins us in studio here in the undisclosed location. It is good to see you. Great work earlier this week. That had to be a cool moment.
Yeah, it was really cool when she didn't want the interview to end and asked us to keep going.
Yes.
That was really cool.
So you're doing it right.
Yeah, that's
Yep,
exactly right. That's the greatest compliment you can give
Right?
an interviewer is to be asked to keep this thing going. But tremendous job. I think that from the vision that Whitney and you share in the Gridiron Show, I think Dee Bro is a great subject to focus on, just because of her mentality. And now, it's gotten to the point in her career where she can sit back and look at the accomplishments.
Yeah, and she opened up about, her accomplishments and what things she may have wanted to change back in the day. She got deep in there, so
Yeah.
it was really good to hear.
Who we highlighting today?
It's a little bit different. We got the Stanford women's basketball team.
Shout out to the Cardinals.
They won their third national championship on Sunday.
Yep.
54-53. Pretty tight game
Incredible
against
game.
Arizona.
Suffocating defense in that
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
Didn't let him get a shot off.
I know.
I thought from the Elite Eight weekend on that the women's tournament was highly entertaining.
Yeah.
I
Without a
mean,
doubt.
pay attention to what's going on in Tucson with Arizona, with that first-year head coach, former player in the program. I mean, Arizona basketball, women's basketball, has been irrelevant since the early 90s. And in her first season, she's got them in a national championship game and playing. I mean, did you see what they did to UConn and Paige Beckers? I mean, I just thought that Beckers and UConn,
Well,
after they got past Kim Mulkey and Baylor, they're going to win it. Beckers is the best. Jalen Suggs and Beckers are from not the same high school, but from the same city. And Arizona throttled UConn. Like, it was never close. I mean, I came out of the game thinking, like, damn, they're going to win the Natty. And then, that's a great testimony for Stanford to win, because of, I think it's good for the sport.
Yes.
Man, it's good. It's great for the sport not to have UConn and Baylor dominating this past weekend.
Right. different teams.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, in a 1-point game.
Yes.
That's what you want in a national championship.
Yeah.
Yeah, the men couldn't get it done for
No.
us, but the ladies gave us an absolute
There
show.
you go.
They
Look
did.
at
Everybody
that.
was tense.
They did. They did. So tell me more about Stanford and their squad.
So, Coach Tara Vanderveer
Yeah.
is the 4th women's head coach to win 3 national championships. They were the number 1 seed overall this whole season. They finished with a record of 31-2. So, I mean, pretty nice season. 2 losses, national championship. What more can you ask for, really?
What's coming up on the Gridiron Show? What are y'all working on?
We've got Carrie Potts, who is the VP
Yes.
of Communications and PR with America 250 Foundation. She talks about the important lessons of putting your kids in sports at a young age and what it teaches you and the character traits it gives you. She gives her personal experience with that. And then she talks about how women's unapologetic attitudes, like within sports, is kind of shifting that gender inequality. Just kind of being like, we belong here and y'all can either get on or get off. It's really cool to hear her talk about that. And then she does bring up a pretty relentless personal story that she experienced that sparked her whole foundation of Fight Back Women.
That's where I met her.
Really?
At SEC Media Days, Carrie Potts was one of the biggest influential females behind the camera that ESPN ever really promoted. So at SEC Media Days, I met her and established a relationship in trying to get interviews.
Yeah.
I would go through her and trying to get some of the top talent at ESPN. I would get in touch with her to get in, like Kirk Herbstreit or Chris Fowler or some of the bigger names at ESPN. And during that time, she was always running a women in sports type, what's the right word to say? Because it wasn't like a convention or anything, because it was just a get-together at SEC Media Days. It was like a dinner where she would bring all of the women that were in media to one round table. And Rachel Barbeau continued to do this at SEC Media Days, and she's doing great work, and I know that y'all have talked to her. But Carrie Potts, and the first time I heard her tell that story, which she's going to tell it.
Yep.
She will tell it on the Gridiron Show. So I won't give away the interview, but it's those situations where if you're in the room, if you have it on in your car, if you have it on your laptop or PC at your desk, it'll stop you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it'll stop you, and you can, if you're in the room, I remember being in the room, and it's like one of those, you can hear a pin drop. You know what I mean? You can look around, and nobody's really blinking. I mean, everybody's just kind of like eyeballs up, just listening to every single movement and word that comes out of her mouth because of the power of the story that she is telling. And you have to realize this was at a time in sports where they protected the sports more than they protected the story. And she is relentless.
Yes.
She is a fighter. She is somebody that you want on your squad no matter what you're doing. So I can't wait to hear the conversation.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And Whitney, just by, I don't know, I'm sure she probably knew that she had this quality. I did. But now seeing it developed every week, she's a incredible interviewer.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Like, that is a skill in our industry that is one of those things that might be a lot harder than it looks, or when it is going bad, you see it. Like, when you see a bad interview, right? I mean,
you can feel it in the first 15 seconds.
It doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
Maybe even like the first 5. Like, oh shit, this ain't gonna be good. And she can even take those moments
And spin 'em.
and kind of spin it to a positive deal. She's fantastic at that, in just the simple art of asking questions and getting people to be comfortable in their answers. That's a tough task to do. I mean, a lot harder than you may think it is. And she, in her first public platform of doing that, she is phenomenal.
It feels like she already has a personal relationship with the person she's interviewing, and she met him at the same time I did. She talks to him for 15 seconds before the phone to get the interview, and then it feels like they've known each other their whole life.
Power of preparation.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen.
She works hard.
Abby, if you
She's
take
good at what she
anything
does.
away from that in what you're trying to do, because you're going to be a force in media, if there is anything that I could advise you in cherry picking from watching her interview, is that she's always prepared.
Yep.
Like, she may not look like it, but she's done so much behind the scenes of getting to know the subject that she can go to a different place in her or his life that can make you sit up, okay, they know me,
Right.
like get you comfortable and kind of tell a story, or maybe laugh where you kind of don't want to laugh, and it opens you up. I mean, there is an art to that. There is an absolute art of finding and, just making somebody loose. Just loosening somebody up so you can get the information and get them talking about whatever you're looking for. Y'all keep up the great work. Proud of y'all, man. Thank y'all for what y'all are doing over at the Gridiron Show. If you have not logged on and subscribed to the Gridiron Show's podcast, their YouTube station, please do that
And
today.
podcast.
And the podcast.
Yeah.
You can get notified for all that stuff that goes live. Abby Alonso, of course, a part of the Gridiron Show. Make sure you're following her on social media and what her and Whit are doing every Wednesday right here for Women Crush Wednesday. Enjoy it. Hopefully another beautiful day. We're back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.